So I've run into a problem where the planking is just going to take so long, in that I'm having to do small stages. So for example, I'll have to stick on a plank, then wait overnight, and then use that as a basis to stick the next plank on. So I've kind of become obsessed with doing stage by stage, and I think really the way to approach this model is to do a certain length of time. And at the stage I'm at now, I can only really do about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then wait overnight for glues to dry or whatever. So what I'm going to do while I'm doing the hull is I'm actually going to do 2 weeks worth of work and then release that as one video, and then to fill the gap I'm going to start work on the figures. So I'm going to prepare the figures this week. Next week we'll do some hull. The week after we'll start painting the figures. The next week we'll do some more hull, etc, etc, and we'll keep going that way until we get there. So 2 problems I've come across. First of all, obviously these are very small and very hard to handle. As you can probably imagine, holding these while painting them is going to be next to impossible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick them to a base. Now I'm going to use cheap super glue. What that's going to do, because these are metal and that's plastic, it's only actually going to form a bond, like a bond between the two. So what will happen is, when you super glue these, you can then gently unpick them. So this will be a really good base to start with, so that I can handle the base rather than the figure. The next problem I've got, which I'm going to have to switch my view to, so bear with me one sec. So this is the Wikipedia page for the Hermione, the 1779, the one that we're building. Now, as you can see here, this is basically, these are the main facts that I'm after. It was laid down in March 1778. It was launched in 1779 in service of, ran aground due to a navigation error in 1793. So basically this ship was sailing between 1779 and 1793. One of the figures that we've been given is Captain Hugh Piggott, which is this chappie here. Now he was commander of the Hermione, which is this ship here, and I believe it's a completely different ship, because this one was launched in 1782. It was taken by mutineers on the 1797, handed over to the Spanish. Basically it became, it's got various different names. It was the HMS Hermione, it was the Santa Cecile, the HMS Retribution, and this is the Wikipedia page on Hugh Piggott, and he was actually killed in a mutiny. Really fascinating stories, not 100% relevant to our Hermione, so I won't go into them too detailed. So I think an error has been made, and in fact Captain Hugh Piggott is actually not relevant to our build. So I'm actually going to miss him out, unless perhaps he was designed for another model. I really don't know. So we will omit him. So obviously where that leaves us is that figure number 2, which is this chappie here, we will not be including. Well, I've decided not to include it. So first thing I need to do is get all of these assembled onto a base. Now I'm using 2 kinds of glue. I'm going to use, like as I mentioned before, the cheap super glue. This is just it's a good glue, but obviously different glues have different purposes. This being runny and it's not quite superior, and we will need to pick these off at the end. For a more permanent weld, I'm going to be using my regular Gorilla Glue. We're going to need some bases. Now these are our Games Workshop Citadel bases. There's two different kinds here. You've got some slaughter bases there. For the purposes of what I'm doing, these are all fine. And what I've also done is I've got some spare sprues. Obviously models come on sprues and you get all of this framework left over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick these onto the end there like that, and that's going to create a handle. So rather than trying to pick, especially these ones, these are beveled and I find them quite difficult to pick up. And what I'll end up doing is picking them up by the model, and I really don't want to touch the model, as you know, until I've finished it. So I'm just going to stick these onto the end, and then that'll give me a handle. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with figure number 7. Let me just check what it is. Figure number 7 is the second lieutenant. And the reason I'm going to start with number 7, I'm going to do the first one in full to show you exactly what I'm doing. Then I'll do the rest speeded up. And the reason I've picked this one to start with is this one actually has 3 pieces. So I'll explain how I'm gluing on the extra pieces. The ones, if I started with number 1, which is the Marquis de la Fayette, he's a single piece model, so obviously I won't be able to describe what I'm doing in quite so detail. So number 7, open carefully because there are tiny parts. You will also need, sorry I forgot to mention, some tweezers because there are some small parts in here. As you can see there's the arm, tiny part. So first thing we'll do, we'll get some of our basic super glue. We'll pop a little dollop onto there like that. Now we can either apply with a cocktail stick and just put a couple of dabs of glue onto his feet, and then we'll glue him where it would be convenient. And he may take a little bit longer than you like to stick. Sometimes these take ages. Sometimes they're frustratingly long to do. And this one is going to take a long time. Yep, he's not wanting to stick, is he? So, why is that? I used to get this problem with metal miniatures, plastic miniatures as well. They just wouldn't stick. And then once they actually stick, sometimes what you have to do is kind of stick them into a fresh place. I think that felt promising. Do you know what? I don't think this is going to stick. Maybe I've got the wrong kind of glue. Maybe there's too much glue. You know, sometimes that makes a difference. Sometimes you just haven't quite got it full on. Oh, that one feels a bit... No. Maybe this glue is too much like... Maybe I've got a bad batch of glue. There you go. He's sticking. Now, he will want to be left for quite a long time. Oh, no, I've knocked him off again, look. Looks like we'll be starting again with that one. A lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Sometimes if you've got like little detail and you push too hard, the detail sticks into your finger, which then makes it more difficult. Oh, I'm struggling there, aren't I? So if anybody is an expert on glue, can explain why this super glue is not sticking. I will warn, actually, there's a very good chance that when we take these off the base, it may actually pull some of the paint off, but by sticking them... There we go. Right, So I'm going to leave him. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get some polystyrene, cement, plastic glue, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just going to get a piece of the sprue, and I'm going to put a decent dollop of glue. Except I'm not, because this glue's not going to come out. I'm not having a good time today, am I? Right, let's go back to my faithful glue. So this is another plastic glue that I've got. This is actually my favourite glue. And what I'm going to do is just run some glue along there. And I'm going to put that side on. Doesn't normally take. There we go. So you see I've created a little handle, so now I don't actually need to touch the model. I think he's actually stuck. Yeah, he's finally stuck down. So just run some more glue in there. This will of course make this sprue quite a permanent bond. Well, not quite a permanent bond, it will be a permanent bond. But that's not a problem, because when I use these bases for wargaming figures, I tend to decorate the bases anyway, so there'll be lots of scraping involved. Right, so the next stage is we get our small detail in our tweezers, and we'll just check the fit. Yeah, that's a good fit, and I'll put that on that side because that's the side it's going to live on. And that's not a good position to hold that in. Perfect. Perfect. So what we will do now is we will get a small dollop of super glue. Try not to mix these two up. I don't know if they will if it will change the properties or anything if you mix them. Maybe if you just mix them, you'll have, by mixing a thick and a thin, you'll just end up with a semi-thin, a medium consistency. I don't know. So we'll just check we've got that in a good position on the tweezers, which we haven't yet. Okay, this is probably going to be quite gappy when it goes in. Right, so that fits. So I'm just going to put a small dollop on the joint, and in that goes. Oh, look at that, beautiful fit. No, he's fallen out. So that's one arm in. There's a small gap there, but I can actually fill that. Just want to check that's stuck in. No, that's not staying in. Right. If you've got a smallish gap, what you can actually do is apply a little bit too much glue, and then that glue will ooze into the gaps, and it will actually semi-fill that gap. You don't want to put too much glue on. That's not sticking. Okay, I'm going to leave that a bit longer. Maybe it just needs a bit more time than normal to set. So, right, that one's got to get a good grip on these, and being small parts, there's not really many places you can grip it really well. Obviously the quality of your tweezers helps. Right, okay, I'm happy with that. Try not to touch the joint. Right, both of those arms are stuck solid. So there we go, there's our first figure. See if we're going to get focus today. Evidently not. Maybe I've got too much light. So there we go. My video seems a bit jumpy at the moment. Come on. There we are, starting to poke. Right, so there's our first figure, that's our second lieutenant. So you can see the gaps in the arms. That's not going to be a problem because we're going to fill those. And they may not be as bad as they look because of the super glue. But that's how I'm going to do my figures. So next, oh, I forgot one more thing. Obviously I need to label it so that I don't get it muddled up with the other figures. And I'm just going to do a very, very basic. I've got a white hair. And I'm not even going to thin it. I'm just going to simply put a little dollop on the palette. I'm going to get my smallest brush that I own, which in this case is a 50, and I'm just gonna paint the number on there. Number 7. You can see how awful this is. Look, this is what happens when you don't thin your paints. So number 7. There we go. So that's all ready for painting. Okay guys, so I'm going to get on with the rest. So this is the finished model. It's only been primed at the moment, but what we'll do is we'll start to look at adding some colour to them over the next few weeks. So yeah, stuck them to the base. Obviously I'm not going to be able to paint underneath the feet, but then that part's not going to be shown anyway because that's going to be glued onto the ship. So 2 coats of primer. I've used a white primer because I want the uniforms to be just a little bit brighter, and any parts of them that I want a little bit grubbier, I can always add a wash at the end just to bring it down a bit. But things like the reds and the blues of the officers, I want those really bright and proud. So what we'll do is we'll pick a colour each episode, and then I'll try and get all of them done in that particular colour. I am a little bit fearful of the trousers because I'm really not good at painting stripes like that, but we'll see what I can do. But we'll start off maybe with the blue. No, we'll do the faces first, because when we paint we always start from the lower layers and then we build up, so that just less chance of making mistakes. Also, while I was doing this, I was having a thought. I may actually still do Captain Hugh Pigott, our little stowaway. See if I can find him. Although he is titled as Captain Hugh Pigott, he could just be a captain, because I think he's got a little telescopes he's looking at. So he, you know, we could actually do him. I could do a little catch up with him off camera, and you know, he would just be another captain. So yeah, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm certainly having fun making it. And then so next week we'll do some planking, and then the week after we'll come back to doing some figures. So take care guys, I'll see you next week.